Hi Brolies, Marvin here from TechBroll.com, where we do unboxings, reviews, and sexy B-rolls. And today, I'm finally giving you guys my full review of the REALME 6 Pro. The best REALME has to offer yet, at least here in the Philippines, in a very competitive price point. In this review, we're going to focus more on the performance side of things, like benchmarks, gaming performance and thermal test, and of course, camera quality. Aside from that, we're also going to tackle battery life, charging, and everything else that you need to know to get a properly informed decision should you decide to get this phone. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright guys, like I said, we're going to focus more on gaming performance, so the format of this video will be a little different. But don't worry, as I'll still provide you with complete details. Now for our testing, I'll play these games until I finish a round or a battle, and then we will test how hot the phone gets for each game tested. Because I feel like only a few reviewers do heat tests nowadays, so yeah. Now, the REALME 6 Pro is equipped with a Snapdragon 720G, an Adreno 618 GPU with 8GB of RAM for the variant that we have right here. Now, with that said, let's proceed with our gaming test. Okay, so let's start with PUBG Mobile. The game automatically sets the graphics settings to HD and high frame rate, which is a good indication that we should get a pretty smooth experience while still having a decent image quality with the mid settings. Now, one cool feature of the REALME 6 Pro is the game assistant feature that you can toggle by swiping down from the corner as you can see here. And in this overlay, we have a shortcut for Facebook Messenger, Viber, Screenshot, Screen Recorder, and battery life and network reception, which is pretty cool, especially if you want to capture some gameplay. You can easily do that using this tool. Now back to PUBG Mobile. As per my testing, using the default HD settings with high frame rate, the gameplay experience I'd say is smooth as you can see on our gameplay footage here, and the graphics quality at HD settings is decent enough as well in my opinion, but I think you can also push it a little bit higher as even at HD settings, I didn't encounter any significant stuttering or any performance issues. So PUBG Mobile is definitely playable on the REALME 6 Pro. And after the entire match with an ambient temperature of around 28 degrees, the REALME 6 Pro's temperature is pretty decent with a max temperature of only around 34 degrees. Next, on Call of Duty Mobile, the game automatically set the graphics settings to high quality and high frame rate settings. So as you can see, we're seeing a trend here that at least for the first two games of our testing, the games automatically set the graphics quality on mid settings, which is pretty decent for a mid-range phone like this. As for the gaming experience in Call of Duty Mobile with high settings, it is smooth for the most part and definitely playable with a somehow decent graphics quality that is smooth while still having a fair bit of details and texture. And as you can see on our gameplay right here, I didn't encounter any significant frame drop or stuttering even during close gunfight and explosions, so I think it is safe to say that the REALME 6 Pro is capable for Call of Duty Mobile in high settings. Now, I was curious and interested to push the REALME 6 Pro in Call of Duty Mobile, so I set the graphics settings to very high quality and in very high frame rate as well, and hopefully we can take advantage of the 90Hz refresh rate here. Now during the pre-match, the gameplay experience feels equally smooth, especially with the very high frame rate setting. Unfortunately, you won't see that on your end as you're watching this at 30 FPS. However, during the actual match, I did encounter some stuttering but not too much to get in the way of a good experience. I'd say the best settings is set the frame rate to very high, but dial the graphics quality a bit down for a much smoother experience. But yeah, Call of Duty Mobile is definitely playable on the REALME 6 Pro. Now, after a couple of matches, the REALME 6 Pro hits up a bit around this area, but not too much that it gets uncomfortable. And if you use the included jelly case, you won't feel it that much. With that being said, the maximum temperature it got is around 38 degrees. Now, of course, in Mobile Legends, which is one of the most popular mobile games right now, the game automatically set the graphics quality to high with both the HD mode and HDR mode enabled, but unfortunately, the Ultra setting is still grayed out here even after updating the game. But still, high quality with HD mode and HDR mode enabled should provide us with smooth gaming experience partnered with decent image quality. And as per my testing, indeed, the gaming experience in Mobile Legends is smooth enough without any significant stuttering, even during clashes, which is pretty awesome and a good news for all Mobile Legends gamers out there on a budget. The quality at high settings is good enough for me, and even though I am pretty new with this game, I certainly enjoyed the experience. Now, after the entire match, the REALME 6 Pro's temperature reached a maximum temperature of 37 degrees. Now, in NBA 2K20, the game automatically set the graphics settings to high except for the crowd, which kinda makes sense. And as per my testing, gaming at high settings even with the crowd turned on in NBA 2K20 is fairly smooth on the REALME 6 Pro without much stuttering as you can see on these highlights. Image quality at high settings is also pretty decent with substantial details, shadows, and reflections. And with the crowd turned on, it makes the game more immersive and the overall experience better. So yeah, NBA 2K20 is definitely playable on the Realme 6 Pro. And after the game, with 4 minutes each quarter, the Realme 6 Pro's temperature reached a maximum temperature of around 39 degrees. Next, in Black Desert Mobile, which some of you have requested for me to include, the game automatically sets the graphics settings to balance medium settings, but with a low frame rate of 20 FPS. So of course, I set that to maximum frame rate setting. Now, in medium setting, the image quality might not be the best, but the gaming experience is at least fairly smooth with this one, as you can see on this gameplay. Even during fight scenes and extreme effects and animations, there's essentially no stuttering at all, which is really nice. And I also find the Black Desert Mobile game quite interesting and one of the best out there when it comes to graphics, effects, and animations for a mobile game. And after a few minutes of playing, the max temperature of the Realme 6 Pro is around 37 degrees. And as we can see on this gaming testing, in terms of heat issues with the Realme 6 Pro, in my opinion, the 37 to 39 degrees at max is hot to the touch, but still tolerable and not an actual issue for me. Now, when it comes to Ragnarok Mobile, which I guess would be the game that requires a long period of gaming session, especially during daily grind, I set the graphics settings manually to these settings, pretty much low in graphics quality and effects, but in high frame rate. And as per my testing, it is playable with micro stutters, but to be honest, this is smooth enough for me and should be substantial for day-to-day grind, and probably for the War of Imperium as well, where a lot of people are playing at the same time. Now, a lot of players will just leave their smartphones for the day to grind their characters, and I feel like the Realme 6 Pro is capable enough for that without the game crashing, which is quite important. Next, of course, we have Asphalt 9, which is one of the most popular games that tech reviewers use to assess a mobile phone's performance. The game was set automatically to default settings, and as per my testing, the gaming experience is absolutely smooth. I didn't encounter any stuttering at all at default settings, so it's only fitting to crank this up to high quality, and as per my testing, even at high quality setting, the performance of the Realme 6 Pro in Asphalt 9 is still pretty solid without any noticeable stuttering. And last but not the least, of course, we have to cover our kids and casual gamers out there. So as per my testing on Subway Surfer, as expected, the Realme 6 Pro is absolutely smooth with this one. So I guess this also applies to most of the casual games like card games, strategy games, and other less graphics intensive games out in the Play Store. Overall, in terms of gaming performance, the Realme 6 Pro is certainly capable for mid to high settings for most of these popular mobile games. And as for thermal performance, the maximum temperature that we saw on our testing is around 39 degrees, which may be hot in the touch, but like I said, it's tolerable and not much of an issue, at least for my preference and in my honest opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the gaming performance of the Realme 6 Pro. Now, for those of you who are interested when it comes to Antutu and Geekbench scores of the Realme 6 Pro, here you go guys. So as you can see, the Realme 6 Pro was able to reach a decent score of 285,406 in Antutu benchmark with a high CPU score and with a fair GPU score as well. In Geekbench, the Realme 6 Pro was able to score 562 in single-core performance while scoring 1,508 in multi-core, and that is of course for CPU performance. As for the GPU performance, the Realme 6 Pro scored 1,221 in Geekbench. Alright guys, now let's move on to another most important aspects of a smartphone for you guys, and that is camera quality. Now, the Realme 6 Pro is equipped with a good arsenal of camera lenses with 6 cameras, 4 at the back which includes a 64MP ultra high resolution main camera, a 12MP telephoto lens, an 8MP ultra wide angle lens, and a 2MP macro lens. And then interestingly enough, we have 2 selfie cameras in front, which includes a 16MP wide lens and an even wider 8MP ultra wide lens. And what's cool about this selfie cutout is that it actually has this lighting animation whenever you use the selfie camera, which I think is a nice touch. As for the camera features, we have a night mode, video, photo, portrait, 64MP mode, and a bunch of other features here that includes the ultra macro and the slow motion feature. And what's interesting here when it comes to photo mode is the tripod mode, which is under night mode, and essentially as per my observation, the camera takes a bunch of photos in different exposure brackets and then joins them together to get a fairly decent shot in a low light situation. And the results is what you would expect with this sort of HDR effect. Now, as for the video, what's interesting here is the UIS video stabilization and the UIS Max video stabilization, also known as Ultra Steady and Ultra Steady Max. The difference is that the Ultra Steady utilizes the 64MP camera, while the Ultra Steady Max uses the wide angle lens, both of which provide a very smooth and natural image stabilization. Now, here are the rest of the shots. As you can see, the images coming from the back cameras of the Realme 6 Pro is pretty decent, and I think this is more than sufficient for social media postings and should be substantial as a quick travel camera if you don't want to bring big and bulky DSLR or even mirrorless cameras. The photos are vivid, especially with HDR mode. It has good contrast with a fair amount of sharpness and doesn't have too much noise or aggressive noise reduction artifacts unless you zoom in real close. I think the photos coming from the smartphone is pretty good, and I specifically appreciate the fact that the HDR mode works properly as well as the AI integration and with decent background separation for that bokeh effects in portrait mode. And partner all that with a nifty tripod mode, Ultra Steady and Ultra Steady Max, you have a good arsenal of features for a decent mobile photography experience. Alright guys, so with the gaming performance, benchmarks, and camera quality out of the way, let me give you the rest of my thoughts about the Realme 6 Pro. In terms of battery life, I tested the Realme 6 Pro using the PC Mark Work 2.0 battery life benchmark, and with maximum brightness and maximum volume with earphones plugged in, the 4300 mAh of battery of the Realme 6 Pro was able to last up to 6.82 hours, which might not be a lot, but at least charging the battery using the included 30-watt charger from 10% to 100% took only around 1 hour. So battery life is not the best, but at least charging is pretty quick. Now in terms of the display, I'm quite satisfied with what Realme 6 Pro has to offer, and although it isn't AMOLED like many would have preferred, for its price I'm okay with it, with a 6.6 inches screen, a Full HD Plus resolution of 2400 by 1080, and with a pixel density of 399 ppi, partnered with a relatively thin bezels with a total of 90.6 screen-to-body ratio. I'm good with that. Not to mention the 90Hz refresh rate, which is actually quite nice, and you'll definitely feel it with browsing the user interface and for the apps that supports it. Aside from that, of course, it has decent viewing angles, vibrant colors, decent contrast and sharpness, and with fair details. And I think it is substantial enough for casual media consumption and gaming. As for the speakers, it features Dolby Atmos and is decent enough as well with good mids and highs, and also packs some punch on the low end, but unfortunately it doesn't get as loud as I would have preferred. The good thing is that we still have a headphone jack whenever we need it. Now in terms of the user interface, the Realme 6 Pro features the Realme UI, which is based on Android 10, and I'm honestly a fan of this, as like I said on my unboxing of this phone, it is close enough to stock Android experience, which means it is lightweight, snappy, responsive, and without much bloatware, while still having some useful app and features built in. As for the design and construction, like I said on my unboxing and first impressions, I really like the design of this lightning blue variant that has this sort of lightning bolt design that changes depending on the angle, and it also reacts to lighting, which looks really good as you can see here. Now around the phone, we have at the bottom a 3.5mm headphone jack, a microphone, a USB Type-C port, and a single downward firing speaker. Then flipping it on the left side, we have the SIM card tray that supports dual nano SIM cards, as well as a micro SD card slot. We also have here the volume rocker, and then on the other side, we have the power button that also functions as a fingerprint reader, which I find handy, but it needs some time getting used to. The good thing is that the fingerprint sensor is snappy, fast, and accurate. Now, my issue with the volume rocker being accidentally pressed while the phone is on landscape can easily be fixed by using the included jelly case. Now at the back, we have here the quad camera setup that features a 64MP ultra high resolution main camera, a 12MP telephoto lens, an 8MP ultra wide angle lens, and a 2MP macro lens. Aside from that, we have a small flash and a Realme logo on the lower left corner. Overall, in terms of the design and construction, with a glass back, thin bezels, and stunning design, there's not much to complain about the design of this phone. As for the contents of the package, you'll get a couple of paperwork, a free jelly case, a massive 30-watt power brick, a USB Type-C cable, and a SIM ejector pin. And lastly, for the specs junkies out there, I'll pop the complete specifications of the Realme 6 Pro on the screen so that you can check it out. Alright guys, so to conclude, the Realme 6 Pro for the price of 16,990 pesos, I honestly feel like all the features, the design, performance, and everything it has to offer justifies the cost. But let me know in the comments below what you think about the price. But yeah, I like the phone, and like I said, I'll be using it as my daily driver for now until a better one comes in. The display, although it is not AMOLED, is decent enough for me with good resolution and pixel density, and I'm not really a mobile gamer, so the gaming performance of this phone is more than adequate, and although the battery life is quite short, at least charging it is pretty fast. What I like about this is the design, which captured me instantly, and the fact that it has 6 decent cameras, most importantly the dual selfie camera that also includes an ultra-wide lens that I think could be handy for mobile vlogging. Overall, there's not much really to complain about this phone, and I personally feel that I can easily recommend this to anyone. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. make sure to check the full article link below. Huge thanks to REALME for sending this in, as well as the REALME 6 and 6i. My review of the REALME 6 is coming up next, so make sure to subscribe so you won't miss that out. Now, REALME will be having a sale on Lazada on May 27, which I guess is today if I was able to finish this on time. But yeah, you'll get a free chance to get discounts and freebies. I'll put a link below so that you can easily check it out. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you like this, and see you next time. Have a great day, Brawlies. You're awesome.